If you like my work and would like to see more, please consider supporting me on Patreon, Twitch, YouTube membership, or by buying merch from my store on Orchid 8. Thank you for allowing me to continue to make videos for you. It's too cold outside, what shadowy hints of my easy-to-miss social life is dying, and I also want to argue about how pop culture characters fit into alignment charts, so it's time to make like a bunch of famous voice actors and Dungeons & Dragons. Odds are plenty of you dorkbags have heard of the hobby, but have as little understanding about how it works as anyone over 60 has about being content with living as a single childless adult who doesn't care about where they live so long as it's a roof over their head and the neighbors don't shout out racial slurs. Unless it's at half-elves, the filthy, knife-eared mongrel mutts. So print out some character sheets, go shopping for some loaded dice, pack some expired snacks, call up all those friends you can only tolerate, and put on your favorite wizarding hat. It's time to do some motherfucking role-playing. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Do you like hitting things? What am I saying? Of course you do. Everybody does. I most certainly do. All the time. Like now. And hitting things is the best thing about D&D. You can hit literally anything you want. Better yet, you can hit it with a big fuck-off axe while flying into a bloodthirsty rage so potent you could be forgiven for mistaking it for some kind of super rabies. The Barbarian is the best class for hitting everything and everyone hard enough they explode into a huge puff of confetti or a shower of blood and organs. What's the difference? They're pretty much the same thing. You get a D12 for your hit die, one of the only times you'll ever use a D12. But it does mean you'll be soaking up hits better than my pillow soaks up tears after I take a look in the mirror for a few seconds. You start with just about every important combat proficiency and any weapon of your choice. And if you're taking recommendations, I highly suggest going for the dual-wield chainsaw shotgun laser earrings with detachable missile launchers and drink dispensers. Ooh, and they have built-in cup holders, look at that. No tool proficiencies, but who cares? Nobody uses tools anyway. You pick them to add to your character for backstory purposes and then forget they exist because you only ever roll for skill checks anyway, you lazy, thoughtless gobblebright. Yes, I just made that up, and it's what you are, you stinky feigl bitch. In fact, who even needs armor? Your pure, unadulterated chutzpah will block enemy blows better than even the shiniest of chainmail bikinis. Better yet, you have spider sense, which assists in you avoiding traps, spells, obligatory social events, and laundry. And of course, the signature trait of the barbar is being able to enter a ferocious frenzy of force that foes will fear for all their fannies. During your rage, you may be easier to hit, but at the game that you are better at hitting everything else. And not just that, your muscles grow to the size of crag-faced garmoofis.
That's a made-up word.
I don't care that the things I'm using for analogies aren't real. Intelligence is a dump stat anyway. That's why mine is the number that comes after 3. And now you know how to play Barbarian. You're welcome. Frail spellcasters? Whack. Close quarters combatants? Whack. Immobile tanks? Whack. Me? I'm tight as fuck. First time playing D&D, I realized I'm too cool for any sort of specialized role. But that was only because I hadn't figured out that there's only one way to play it right. With a sword in one hand and a harp in the other, shouting my greatness from the rooftops, laying bitches and slaying witches. Or is it laying witches and slaying bitches? I can't quite remember. I was too busy giving the tavern owner a reason to stay in business. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Jack of all trades, master of none is still better than someone who only has one gimmick and has to hide for the rest of the fight because they've run out of class features and spell slots. If the sword and shield were an RPG class, it would be the bard, one that's good at doing everything and doing everyone. You can cast spells, learn tons of skills, support allies, harm enemies, harm allies, support enemies, woo crowds, boo crowds, and most importantly, lay dragons. It's the most versatile class, and its various archetypes allow you to fill literally any role, so who even needs anything else? Need DPS? College of Swords. Need a tank? College of Valor. Want to make rogues useless? College of Whispers. Need to get good at the game? College of Sit Down, Shut Up, and Listen. Your most important feature, Bardic Inspiration, is like the little girl Wolverine version of the Big Daddy Logan, and is absolutely game-breaking. By being a radiant concentration of pure awesomeness, you can allow anyone else an additional die to roll and add to almost anything. Think that weak-ass wizard won't be able to make the con save against that poison attack? Inspired! The fighter needs to land the killing blow on an enemy with a high armor class? Inspired! Your wingman just told you about a hot piece of sliz that walked into a high-class tavern and that he needs you to hype him up to be able to talk his way in and maybe nab a few extras on the way out for you? You best bet your ass that homie's gonna be inspired! In fact, screw your wingman, you can do it yourself. Jack of all trades and expertise means whatever you're bad at, you're suddenly good at. And whatever you're good at, you're suddenly unbelievably amazing at. Nothing can stop you, well, maybe except a pretty face. By playing D&D, you automatically sign an unwritten contract that forces you to write your character to fall under the purest stereotype of whatever class you pick. Everybody knows you have to follow that contract or else Matt Mercer will sneak into your house and throw foam noodles at you from the corner of your living room. All wizards are smartass eggheads, all rogues are kleptomaniacs, and all bards are lust-compelled sex deviants. It's just the rules, I don't make them. And of course, the main gimmick of the bard is that it's artistically expressive in some way. People usually think this means musician. That's because their brain are like this, while my brain are like this. They can sing, dance, paint, prance, make a pretty dirt drawing with a lance. Plenty of ways to further enhance the battlefield if given the right chance. Now you know how to play bard, you're welcome. Now this may sound rather odd, but sometimes the best in the squad is the one with the cross who can smite like a boss by harnessing the bitch slap of God. With a mace that even ogres will flee, you'll cast and crush things with glee. Some think they're not strong and those people are wrong. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. The support is someone everyone wants on their team, but nobody wants to be. Lucky for you, the Cleric is like a support that decided to buy a taser after being too fed up with being told to heal the Barbarian who ran into a 1v20 encounter. Clerics are the religious fandoms in the D&D world that are so crazy into their deities that they've turned their fangirling power into something that can actually pack a punch, having the same armor proficiencies as a fighter and the self-sustaining capabilities of a Paladin that's been juicing with unicorn hooves and dragonborn acid. They have so many teeth-grindingly infuriating spells at their disposal on top of all that dungeon masters all over the world universally agree to ban clerics from the game so as to not make encounters absolute nightmares to give proper challenge without throwing approximately 20 black dragons at one cleric alone to keep it balanced. Spells like Flash Gordon, Buddy Cop Weapon, and Does My Hand Smell Bad to You are so stupidly strong at such a low level it's easy to forget why so many uncultured swine consider the cleric a designated healer. Anyone who does has either never played the class or considered the sword and shield a viable weapon in Monster Hunter. Wait, unlike most other classes, you pick your archetype at first level, and you have oodles, canoodles, and toaster strudels to choose from. To summarize, you have Heel Bitch, Nerd, Sunburn, and My Axe, Nobody Dies, Nobody Cares, and a couple of more that I'm too lazy to mention. Seriously, with how versatile and independently strong you can build a cleric, you can make up an entire party full of purely priests, call it the Amen, and bust down Tiamat's door demanding her lunch money. And she would just build her own toilet to give herself swirlies so she wouldn't have to endure the kind of bullying you're about to give her. Channel Divinity gives you special limited use effects depending on your domain, and can be as dumb as Turn Undead, where the power of the gods can make a zombie run away from you like it's regained its ability to smell and realizes you've been sleeping with your Jesus blanket that you haven't washed in months. Or as useful as Guiding Strike, where you can choose to add 10 billion points to your attack roll so you'll be able to swat one fly with another fly's deuce being whipped around on a string like a yo-yo strung around your pinky toe while blindfolded. The only downside is that you get a pitiful amount of uses, like a gym 2 weeks after New Year's. And finally, the most notable trait of the Cleric is Divine Intervention, where if you are a good boy or girl all year, praying happy thoughts and burning that dank holy kush, if you wish upon a star, the clouds in the heavens will part and the literal gods will stop playing their game of Jenga to fix whatever dumb problems you and your party have gotten into, and then avoid you for 7 days debating whether or not to write you a holy restraining order after seeing you pissed your pants fangirling over your religious senpai noticing you. And now you know how to play Cleric. Amen. I don't understand tree huggers. What has the environment ever done for us? It's not like it provides oxygen, resources for tools, housing, clothes, food, and technology or anything important like that. And it's definitely not like it's home to various species of plants and animals required to keep the ecosystem alive to continue to feed mankind's insatiable appetite to destroy, consume, and rebuild in his own image, ultimately resulting in the annihilation of the very world that brought him into existence. Nah, fuck all that. The environment clearly exists for us to skin innocent animals that are minding their own business so we can wear them as high fashion. I mean, just look at bears. All they do is steal my chips and shit in my backyard. Well, guess what, Yogi? It's payback time. And what better way to give it than undercover as one of their own? They'll never see it coming. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. The Druid is what happens when a ranger decides to fully commit to being a furry/hippie instead of just half-assing it because they're only trying to impress that sexy dryad they met in the forest that one time. They're primarily a casting class, but unlike clerics with their holy senpai, warlocks with their sugar daddies, bards with their awesomeness, or sorcerers with their rich magical parents' inheritance, Druid's magic comes from Mother Nature, and from first-hand experience I can tell you now she's an absolute bitch. Shut up, bitch. At second level, you can fulfill every furry's dream and transform into an animal, but not just any old lameo neon-colored oversaturated mess like Argent Darksnout the rainbow dog with an indie band t-shirt over there. No, I mean cool animals like my original character, Grabblejean, the nocturnal giant toad. Don't steal! Your archetype will be based around whether you want to be part of the forces of nature or if you want it to work for you. To list them off, Land for different flavors of spells, Moon for when you want to take your fursona to the next level, Dreams for if you secretly want to play a cleric, Shepherd for if you want to be king of the Wigglers, Spores for if you want to reenact The Last of Us, and Twilight for that sweet, sweet edge. Just like all the classes, your features improve with your level. Where Druids differ is that their animal-related features mean that the beasts you summon or wear fursuits of don't necessarily get stronger, but rather they're thrown into the garbage and replaced by things with increasingly more fleas. Moreover, they gain additional features a regular animal couldn't imagine if it was high on devilweed, which gets fucking terrifying at later levels. Imagine this scenario. You're walking in the woods, there's no one around, and your phone is dead. Suddenly, spiky thorns sprout out around you, making movement painful. An adorable bunny rabbit sitting in front of you, seemingly harmless, suddenly starts shooting giant bees out of its eyeballs and turning the tree branches around you into black mambas. Design an encounter for that, Dungeon Master. And now you know how to play Druid. You're welcome. Fighter-Man, overall he He's fairly bland. Hit some stuff, hit some more. Outside combat, it's quite a bore. Look out, he is a fighter man. Gee, I wonder what it does. It's a goddamn mystery. Who knows? I'll say it because nobody else will. If you pick fighter, odds are you're also likely to pick human because you're basic like that. And that's not just me saying that, it's science. Human fighters pop out of the woodwork like rabbits on Viagra because people are incapable of choosing something unique even when they're given options like playing as a kobold paladin who prays to asteroids just before they crush an unfortunate man's cabbage cart. Just look at me, for example, artistic phenomenon and originator of the satirical talk fast genre of videos. What do you mean I'm not the first one to come up with the idea? I don't need these lies coming out of you. Everything I make is completely original and everybody knows it. Come on, Master Chief, let's get the fuck out of here. Fighters are the purest essence of the combat side of D&D, all about hitting things hard and fast, getting into the thick of the fight, and hey, you get out of here, we're not talking about you. They're all focused around rolling more dice than a Limp Bizkit song, as well as being straight up easy baby mode because you get to start using any weapon you want, heavy armor, some ranged options, a free cheesecake, and a complimentary belly rub just for picking the class. Seriously, everything about it is geared towards being so noob-friendly, even a Monster Hunter longsword player will be laughing at you. If you feel so inclined during combat, you can heal yourself, attack twice, and take a second action to attack twice again, all in the same turn. And that's at 5th level. Not to mention you getting more ability score increases than any other class means that if you go a turn without hitting at least something, then you must have made some kind of D&D sin that angered Gary Gygax, like getting weighted dice or putting milk in before your cereal. Fighter flavors allow you to pick how you want to be hitting the bad guys, like being a magic bitch that can actually take a hit, or ride a bitch while you cut down a fool, or go all out sensei mode and just decide you want advantage for every attack this turn, so you're going to absolutely destroy a bitch. But odds are, knowing most fighters out there, champion is the best bet because it's basic. Yo, we heard you like fighter, so we put more fighter in your fighter. Just be sure to make your character a rough and grizzle-faced middle-aged straight white man with a two-handed sword and a mysterious and/or tragic and/or vengeful backstory just to fit the bill. Don't want to get too creative now, do we? And now you know how to play fighter, you're welcome. Hammer, bow, sword, and shield. There's no limit what you can wield. Plenty fights you have fought. Demon Lord's just another thought. This class, great for a newbie's first time. Plenty of damage to chime. Here comes the fighter man. Why? Because, bitch, you were taking too long. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Fighting is like a science and can be used for either side of the moral spectrum. It can be used for evil, like punctuating arguments, expressing a salty loss, and beating up nerds, or it can be used for good, like self-defense, artistic expression, and beating up nerds. And monks are those who have trained heavily in the nerd beating up science of mixed martial arts, foregoing any sort of traditional filthy weapon proficiencies and instead opting for wanting to punch, bam, boom, slam, kick, punch stuff. You start with no armor because, like a barbarian, you have the ability to deflect and dodge attacks with the power of your unconstrained birthday suit. But unlike barbarian, you don't have to rely on the pathetic material world to explodify goblins. You have your knuckles. Martial arts training means you can serve up extra punchables for the bad guys as a bonus action, so no matter how you're doing as Mama said, you'll be dishing out more pain-induced fistings than two lesbians who consider watching porn as a reasonable substitute for sex ed. But it's not all coochie destruction. The monk is a slippery piece of work who's really good at avoiding any oncoming fistings, like a millennial trying to get their life together avoids self-care, by catching them if they're a fist projectile or dodging out of the way if it's an area of fists. As you grow stronger, you can translate a fist if it's punching in a different language, and avoid any infections if the fister forgot to take a shower that night. As a monk, your shtick is the key feature, but since I can't come up with any way to make this section much funnier, and also because key translates to poop in Thai, that's how I'm going to refer to it from now on. You gain more and more poop as you level up, and you can spend your poopy points on various skills to do all sorts of things, like stun people, reroll saves, mask yourself and turn invisible, and any other number of crazy things based on which anime you want to imitate. I would recommend Kensei so you could use the dual-wield chainsaw shotgun laser earrings if it weren't for the fact that every other archetype was just cooler in every way, wearing fancy outfits and taking the time to actually learn how to fist properly. Oh man, what a tough decision. Do I want to use a pokey stick or do I want to fire Hadoukens and Kamehameha blasts? What an enticing decision. I'm really gonna have to think about. Don't stop, we're in luck now! And now you know how to play monk, you're welcome. Boy, I love the smell of justice in the morning. There's nothing more satisfying than knowing the good name of Sword and Shield has traveled so far and wide that not even the Pokemon games are free from their incredible, awesome influence. And it's about time too. You think I created this series to entertain and inform ignorant whelps of great hobbies their miserable lives are missing out on? Fuck no, it was to enforce the mighty name of the one true weapon pairing that triumphs all others. And if anyone were to step out of line, I'd bring down the wrath of which tear-ass children tell their parents to scare them before bedtime, and then collect the aftermath of the pants they all shit because it makes for great fertilizer. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Do you want to tank? Do you want to fight? Do you want a class that'll instill fright, take up some plate, and keep the goblins in sight? Because you want to make sure they eat this Paladin smite! The Paladin is the first on a short list of hybrid-style classes, stealing a mix of features from both the fighter and the cleric, meaning it's better at physically painting the walls with blood than a cleric, but more gooder at grammar and spelling than a fighter. But it's also one of the few classes where role-playing becomes somewhat important. What? Role-playing in my role-playing game? They really should have put some kind of warning label somewhere. I'm not submitting to this shit. If I wanted to follow some sort of code, I'd become a pirate so that I could at least plunder some booty while I'm at it. Otherwise, fuck you, gods. If you want me to play your game of ethics, you can kiss my shiny plate mail. Alright, fine, just follow the code and don't do anything stupid that'll cause you to lose your paladin privileges, like a spoiled rich kid who's upset that he doesn't get a fourth Maserati to crash. Like the other all-up-in-your-grill-style physical fighting classes, you gain proficiency with every goddamn combat-oriented item in the universe. And yes, that does technically mean that you can optimally play a paladin without a shield and not have to worry about being a less effective contribution to your party, but if you do that, I'm telling you now that you're wrong and I hate you and you're a big, smelly doo-doo head. As a resident big fuck-off bringer of divine justice, your job is to harness the power of holiness or whatever other wacky power, depending on what oath you pick, to have everything else die while they bounce off of your full frontal crusade like a turd in the wind. That's true for just about every combat-focused class, but the Paladin is especially good at it, what with having the aforementioned fighter-cleric combo skill set. You get multiple attacks, channel divinity, a free vaccination, casting abilities, more auras than that one silly anime that nobody likes, which means you'll be so jacked that your mere presence will muscleify any nearby ally so that they look like a typical character from said silly anime that nobody likes. And lay on hands, a pool of health you can use to heal yourself or give a single hit point to your ally because that's all they deserve for not letting the rogue check the obviously booby-trapped room first. But we all know the real reason anyone picks Paladin, and that's to never cast any actual spells, but instead use your spell slots to imbue your weapon with various flavors of smite! Because what good is striking down the heretics and heathens of the realm if it's not in the elemental attacking equivalent of your god sports team colors? You can smite with fire, laser pointers, brain freezes, sick bassy drops, and cheese! Cheese for everyone! Sorry, I meant force. Force is what it says. What is this, Stargate? And now you know how to play... Wait a minute, what the hell is that noise? Just play a fighter with a bow, it's way better. Alright, fine, I'll talk about the class. Ranger is the other of the bisexual style of classes, where it likes fighter, but it also likes druid, and flips between the two depending on which one looks cuter at the moment. Hell, it even steals a few things from rogue because it's so indecisive. And despite the name ranger, you're not actually restricted to use any sort of ranged weapon in order to be effective. As far as combat goes, you get the usual fighter but not really fighter set of features. Fighting style, all weapons, extra attack, spell casting, d10 hit die, hey Macarena. From rogues, it steals the ability to channel your inner chameleon and blend into the environment. Except instead of hiding in the shadows and watching where you step, it's more like putting on makeup, so you need to take some time, have a good look in the mirror, maybe look up some tutorials while you're at it, then start over when you realize you were using the wrong shade of foundation. From Druid, it steals some of that being one with nature flavor it's got going on, and a whole lot of spells, but not without a few exclusive spells of its own, like having a target explode a bunch of thorns when hit with a ranged attack, plant arrows in the ground and turn them into proximity-based fireworks, except the gunpowder is magic and the lights are bits of enemy brains, and single-handedly the objectively best ranger spell, Swift Quiver. Not for the unlimited ammo, that's dumb, nobody keeps track of their arrows anyway, but because it turns your ranged weapon into a rapid-fire machine gun.
But Joseph, you said you don't need to use a ranged weapon to be effective as a ranger. Those all sound like ranged weapon exclusive spells.
That may be true, however. Anyway, when it comes to actual unique ranger features, you can use the power of racism to decide what kind of creatures you're going to perform extra potent hate crimes on, and preferred terrain, where you can pick your favorite environment, and after trotting around picking flowers or litter, depending on what it is, you can become a fantasy Bear Grylls, which is basically real-life Bear Grylls, except with a kobold crew filming you instead. And if you worry that that sounds too situational, and that if you picked a forest terrain and the entire campaign took place in the snowy mountains would mean the feature would be more useless than a football player who got tapped on the shoulder and started clutching their knees crying in the fetal position, don't worry, you're right, and it is. What isn't situational knows just about everything else involving the environment. You can sense what kids are trespassing on your lawn and then not have to worry about the weeds that might otherwise slow you down from catching them and giving them a good weapon! When it comes to flavors of the no really trust us, you can totally use melee and still be a useful class. You have Pokemon Trainer with a gun, like rogues but even dodgier, literally a monster hunter, thinking with portals, and pew 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 pew! Alright, let's address the beholder in the room. The vanilla incarnation of the ranger has a reputation of being less useful when compared to the other classes due to questionable abilities and how they function. That's not to say the class can't be useful or powerful in the right circumstances, but some consider the ranger's situational and sometimes underpowered features to leave something to be desired. However, there's nothing wrong about talking to your DM about changing how certain skills work, if that happens to be the case, so that you can have more fun at your role-playing table. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about how many numbers you can do to the bad guys, but whether or not you can shoot spikes out of the ground while firing bolts from your heavy crossbow atop a feathered velociraptor. And now you know how to play ranger. You're welcome. Ever since I was a child, I had to grow up on the streets, wrestling alley bears for food and fighting guards for my own freedom. It was in those streets that I knew I couldn't trust anyone but myself. The only thing for sure was that I had to find the monsters who put me there, to exact my revenge, and finally put my restless hunger for blood at ease.
So is that why you're standing in the corner of a tavern conspicuously?
That's something deeply mysterious and intriguing for you to find out, but I doubt you'd understand all the pain and suffering I've had to endure to—
Alright then, I'll see you later.
Wait, no, you were supposed to be deeply interested and ask me more about my backstory. You know what? I'm tired of being another cog in the machine of an adventuring party. I'm going off on my own, following my own creed and doing what needs to be done. That's right, I'm going rogue. Do you get it? Rogues are the sneaky, savvy, skilly, willy utility monkeys of the Forgotten Realms, and the best pick if you're a backseat gamer since it lets you interrupt someone trying their best because they weren't doing it right. However, if you want to Mary Sue it up even more than you already are, you also get expertise so that you can upgrade those proficiencies to anime protagonist levels of ridiculous. Now I know what you're thinking, this sounds a lot like Bard, and while that's partly true, the difference is rogues aren't automatically assumed to be the comic relief. Instead, they're deep, dark, and brooding, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, holidays excluded because who could be grumpy on Christmas? The other main difference is their unique combat feature, the sneak attack, and because the names in D&D are always inaccurate, you don't actually have to be low to the ground and covered in shit to deal the sneak attack bonus damage, but rather anytime the enemy's just not feeling up to it today and just wants to get it over with. This means if the enemy's being flanked, or if they're laying prone on the ground, or they just bragged about how high their IQ is, you know, things that would make them really easy to stab. You are, incidentally, not very easy to stab since you have a whopping 4 goddamn features dedicated to make you more difficult to pin down than figuring out if that teasing banter you had with your friend actually hurt their feelings or not. You can dodge when it's your turn, dodge when it's not your turn, dodge a giant ball of fire, and even dodge having to pay the bill on a first date. One especially unique trait of the rogue is their exclusive language, Thieves Can't. Thieves Can't what? I don't have the slightest clue, because it allows you to say a whole bunch of jargon that somehow translates into a completely different sentence. Timmy's having tea with the local blacksmith actually means let's go to the temple and steal some of the cleric's donations. Speaking of stealing, the thief archetype means you're especially fast at doing thiefy things, like picking locks, chugging potions, and hardcore parkour. Assassin makes your stabs extra stabby, and you can stab while disguising yourself as a child you saw who you can point to later and say they did it. Arcane Trickster basically turns you into a bard, except less talented or attractive, and allows you to hocus pocus somebody's wallet from 3 miles away. Mastermind is straight up Sherlock Holmes, complete with the assholery and catchy theme music. Swashbuckler won't stop bugging people to 1v1 them, and Scout, which is yet another better alternative to Ranger. Your job is to make sure everybody knows how much better you are at doing everything, because when the going gets tough, you know the party's going to turn to you one day and ask you to please pick the lock on the door to the king's castle because the bard accidentally kicked the guard in the genitals trying to seduce them. And you'll gladly show them all the skills you've learned from growing up in such a harsh and unforgiving environment that was once your home, forcing you to learn questionable means and morally ambivalent beliefs in order to survive. Just try not to cut yourself on that edge while you're at it. And now you know how to play rogue, you're welcome. Magic is dumb and stupid and makes no sense, and my brain hurts the more I try to figure out how it works. Except when bards use it, because bards are cool and mages are lame with their colorful flowy robes and giant obnoxiously fashionable hats. No, I'm not jealous, shut up. At the very least though, most of them work hard for their magical abilities, some of them cultivating it through skill and experience, others answering to a higher power, some having a codependent relationship with the arcane, and some lucky enough to have their parents bang a mystical creature and receive a small genetic loan of 1,000,000 mana. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Get your stupid hats ready, it's time for the casters, where your weapons suck, your armors suck, and your martial skills are closer to that of the average D&D player. Instead, you'll be relying on the mystical, magnificent mass of magics. Except in this case, not really relying on, and more like bullying it into doing what you want. Sorcerers are those who disrespect the rules of magic and can easily manipulate it, like it's some young adult who's desperate for food that isn't microwaved or takeout. Maybe that's why your hit die is the one used for Monopoly games. That's right, a pathetic D6, which likely means the DM won't have to do much to make you piss your pants in fear. The Cirque du Soleil's metamagic feature means you can enhance the spells you cast by paying off the essence of arcane with the inheritance money you got from your magical parents, and allows you to influence your spells to take on a variety of effects to your liking. Its effects include, but are not limited to, biased AoEs, angry AoEs, spells that gotta go fast, say, "Nuh-uh, I totally got you, I hit your shirt, clothing counts," get an extended spell warranty, double penetration, or even cast with the sound of your armpit farts if you don't feel like talking that day. And you can do all that and more by using your sorcery points, which has got to be the two most absolutely nerdiest words you could ever put together in a single phrase. It's also a weirdly effective safe word because it allows your magical BDSM to stop so your spell slots can catch their breath and recover. With archetypes, you have squishy clerics, zippy zappy, casty blasty, watch for the lightning, it gets nasty, darkness, 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 scaly and denial, and the only one that really matters, the Wheel of Wild Magic! Where you and whatever other lucky souls nearby get to experience the high-octane thrills of randomness. Think your pathetic magic missile just won't cut it? Don't worry, with the right kind of luck, it could suddenly open up a one-way portal to the Fire Planes. Who knows what crazy, helpful, and/or harmful effects could happen due to your gambling addiction? Let's spin that wheel and see how wild we can get! I may have spun it a little bit too hard because of my stonkingly huge muscles, so we'll just let that go for a while. Now, the main difference between the three arcane casters is how they get their magic. While wizards take years studying for the ACT and warlocks keep having to pay interest to their demon lord shareholders, sorcerers' magic comes from the fact that they were born inherently talented instead of needing to do any actual work. That's why your casting ability is charisma, because we totally need more of those, and just because you can cast spells doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. But who cares what's smart when you can cast big spells with big effects so your big numbers can turn the big baddies into big piles of giblety experience points. Insert fireball joke. And now you know how to play Sorcerer, you're welcome. Well, shit. Hey you sitting there with your saggy butt cheeks and emotionless expression. I know what you're thinking. Boy, I wish I could cast spells, but all I got is an expendable firstborn child and a willingness to work under a questionably immoral arcane master till the end of time. Well, that's just the exact sort of motivation we like for our employees at EDB Incorporated. And if you sign up with us, we'll be sure you're treated in a way that you deserve for assisting in furthering our goals to bring about the ruin of the entire multiverse. All I need you to do is sign here and agree to give us eternal servitude of your mortal soul. But on the bright side, we have dental. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. So you want to use magic, but only as much as you want to hug that one family member you keep seeing at reunions, but aren't quite sure how you're related. Then you may want to be a warlock, the fake gamers of the Forgotten Realms. How warlocks differ from the other casters is that the amount of times you can cast your spells before running out of spell slots is absolute shit. Instead of having a set number of spells for each level of spell slot, you get a maximum of 4 spell slots for all your spells up to 5th level, and that's it. And a few other ones, but nobody cares about those. The flip side is that the spells you cast are always at their max level, and instead of having to take a long rest to get those slots back, all you need is an hour to have a wank, have a biscuit, and you're back on your feet. But you know what? Fuck real spells. You may think you're a caster, but really picking this class is purely an excuse to do nothing but cast everyone's favorite cantrip, Eldritch. Cast it at weddings, funerals, beach parties. Or you can just cast it randomly because the party's taking 5 hours to buy a single dagger from the shopkeeper and you're bored. Aside from casting nothing but Eldritch all day, the main draw of the Warlock is the fact that it's the greatest game of dress-up dolls of all time. Eldritch Invocations allow you to custom tailor your Warlock so that it suits you better than my form-fit Kieran assless chaps. You can talk to animals without needing to cast a spell, go straight up invisible whenever you want, but most importantly, there are invocations that allow you to customize your Eldritch so that whenever you shoot your gobbledygook at whatever poor sap that looked at you funny, you can pull them forward and do your best Scorpion impression, snipe them from 2 blocks away, or make the beam of arcane destruction smell like strawberries if you like. But it's not all fun in Eldritch because remember, you've signed a pact with a patron, so your power is being loaned to you from an all-powerful arcane sugar daddy. So you will have to pay interest if you want to make sure all that magic stays nicely tucked into your Eldritch sack. Luckily, they're not like bank loans because you can actually pay them off and they're not always inherently evil. You have the choice of being bossed around by a literal devil who decided to make you their favorite person, so they're gonna be your mommy for a little bit. A skeleton who ironically refuses to let you die because you still owe him 2 platinum. Fairies who are just straight up assholes. Gods, so you're basically a cleric now. Literally Cthulhu. But forget all those because the only real option is to have your patron patron be a magically possessed sentient sword and shield that yells fuck when you swing it. Basically, you have such a huge amount of options to choose from with how you build your warlock, it's very unlikely any two warlocks will be the same. So get your shopping baskets, light some candles, have fun customizing, oh, and remember you have to sacrifice 3 more babies by the end of the week or you're fired! And now you know how to play warlock, you're
Impressive, you know? I mean, I've never had a student score 0 in everything before.
What do you mean? I chose exactly the perfect spell for every situation.
Well, you answered Fireball for every question.
What's your point, person within fireball distance?
What I mean is you can't expect a big damaging area of effect spell to be the answer for everything. Maybe try some different spells, maybe minor illusion to trick the enemy. You can find a fae or a fiend to serve as your familiar, or even prestidigitation. It has a surprising amount of uses, even though it costs nothing.
I'm about to prestidigitate all over your desk if you keep suggesting lame-o spells.
What I'm saying is you should expand your horizons. A wizard is the apex of the arcane, the ultimate utility caster, and one of these days you're gonna find yourself in an encounter where Fireball isn't gonna... Where'd you go? What the fuck?
Welcome to a crap guide to D&D! The classic, the OG, the frail old man with a stick that shoots magic missiles at a few goblins and then has to go door to door telling his neighbors he's a registered hex offender. The wizard is the most powerful class if you ignore any other classes that are stronger, which are all of them, because this thing is more fragile than a single layered sheet of toilet paper that's been soaking in the soggy crack of a bridge troll's ass cheeks. This class is the sorcerer's lamer, more studious, dorky neighbor who does all the hard work for none of the recognition. You get saving throws and intelligence and wisdom instead of constitution and charisma, so sure you'll be able to ace that pop quiz and not have to worry about being distracted, but you won't be able to hold your liquor or score any hot dates at Chad Firebolt's party in the golden mansion his chromatic dragon dad bought him. If you're looking for the silver lining, the wizard is definitely the heaviest case of be careful who you call ugly in magic school. The wizard's spell list is thicker than the Storm King's thunder thighs, you gain spell slots like a shower drain gets hair, and during a short rest you can even choose a small amount of spell slots to recover depending on your level. Best of all, at higher levels you even get the ability to cast your favorite low-level spells as many times as you like. But who are we kidding? You're likely going to be dead before you reach that high, either killed by your own fireballs or killed by all your pissed off allies who were caught in your own fireballs. But hold your horses there, Mr. I actually believe wizard memes are as funny in the game as they are on social media. All your spells are tied to your spellbook because wizards have short-term memory loss, and unless it's a cantrip, you can only cast a spell if you have a 3-step tutorial with pictures to color. But the work doesn't just stop there. The stronger spells at higher levels are gonna need expensive magical components to cast them if you don't want to embarrass yourself with arcanal dysfunction and suddenly your finger of death feels more like a finger of mild discomfort. People say wizards are the utility casters because of the massive amount of spells at their disposal, many of which are apparently great for a wide range of situations. I'm here to smartly inform you that those people are stupid. Use Fireball and only Fireball. Nothing but Fireball. Just Fireball. Just Fireball. Just Fireball. Because they are the nerds of D&D, wizards have an unhealthy amount of knowledge of all of the different schools of magic, so instead of having their archetypes based around a certain theme, they get one for each of the aforementioned schools of magic, which is too damn many to go over, and frankly, I don't have the time or gummy bears to last a whole lecture. Instead, I'm going to quickly summarize each school of magic, and also war magic, cause fuck you, and I'm gonna do it all in song! Evocation elements to burn or shock or freeze your friends. Necromancy spares the dying, or you could just resurrect them. Abjuration keeps you safe and almost makes your armor fair. Divination helps you sense, detect, commune, and talk to bears. Conjuration, portals and make stuff for free. Transmutation, turn things into other things. With enchantment, buff the buff or in between. And delusion, visual tricks to prank the brain with fear and silence. Blur and go invisible, pretend you're someone else's dad. Disguise, mislead, take on their life. War magic is like tank mage, getting lots of defense, flexing as you cast. And now you know how to play wizard. You're welcome. A wise man once said magic is dumb and stupid and makes no sense, and I trust that man. He wields a sword and a shield, so why use magic when you can use big brain energy and the power of science? And I know how much nerds love science, so much that they won't shut up about it and one day start making weird advances towards their Texas Instrument. Listen, we all have our urges, but seriously, get a server room. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. It's about damn time we got another intelligence caster. The stat is about as commonly used for spellcasting as your bedroom is used for sexy times. The Artificer is an inventor who decided traditional magical means by accomplished wizards and scholars are too mainstream and decided to come up with their own magic spells and items after reading 2 articles by angry moms from Baldur's Gate who discovered casting real spells can actually give you genital flumps. Checkmate, sorcerers. Instead of that, you can tinker with items to imbue them with special properties like turning it into a flashlight, turning it into a scented candle, or turning it into a phone that can only record and play vines. The best part is that once you give the item the properties, it lasts last forever, so go have fun enjoying your 7 seconds of fame before the service shuts down and you become a struggling vlogger. And speaking of messing with the natural properties of items, as you level up, you gain infusions, which allow you to turn that sex toy you hide in the dresser from a basic vibrator to a vibrator. Infusions include, but are not limited to, boring stat increase, Thor's hammer, item dupe glitch, and go gadget blinka-boots! This is all due to your massive IQ rating of 20 billion, which is so high you can add your intelligence modifier to any of you or your ally party members' dice rolls and become the ultimate backseat gamer telling them about the bad guy's weak spots because there's no way their simple minds could have figured it out on their own. And if that doesn't work out, you can use one of the 50 magical items you've made yourself and refuse to part with like someone on an episode of Hoarders, or pull a fast one and throw the magical vibrator that you secretly stored a charge of fireball in. Being the new class that it is, the Artificer only has 3 subclasses so far, and no, I'm not going to cover the new ones that come out. Stop asking, I just want to go on vacation with my sword and shield already. The Alchemist is like a drunk doctor and gains a few healing spells, can buff allies with the power of drinking and gambling, and can help you grow closer bonds with your pets. If you want a big fuck-off gun, the Artillerist can create an Eldritch Cannon that can either fire 3 different kinds of artillery or just sit there contributing nothing while you marvel at your amazing craftsmanship, because keeping track of more than one thing on the board is hard, isn't that right, Dungeon Master? And lastly, the Battlesmith, where you decide to stop being a puss baby and join the fight with a mystery-solving robo-dog sidekick. Ranger. Overall, the Artificer loves making, finding, and using loads and loads of magical items, which means you'll probably forget about half of your inventions because players can't be trusted to even remember the items they started with at the beginning of the campaign. Just make sure to keep them under good security so the rogue doesn't steal them all while you long rest and suddenly you wake up to the sound of Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture. Now you know how to play Artificer. You're welcome. So, you picked your class, hold on to your ass, it's gonna get crass cause race, part of the role you can play, some sentient clay, a he, she, or they, a beast who gets real snarly, a regular dude named Charlie, if homebrew is free, a big talking tree, welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Arakakra, a big fucking bird. You got some wings so you can fly, and if non-weapon melee's preferred, they get sharp talents to bit scratch a guy. Or maybe you're more of an Aasimar, still avian, if you lower the bar, angelic people with radiant energy, or darkness if you flap your wings edgily. Bugbears aren't actually bears at all, more like beastly orcs and just as tall, but oddly sneaky and your arms are long, so you're really freaking good at playing basketball. But if going full beast is a little too far, you could always do half and decide to be a centaur, charging the enemies so they can readily get steadily back up while you stomping them deadly. For Sneaky Bunch, changeling's cool, you make a disguise, get a worthless tool, you can change your face to whatever race, there's nearly no limit who you can fool. Dragonborn, no not the Skyrim kind, are likely the kid of a bard that'll find dragons really hot, so now you shoot acid, or whatever other color your parents preferred acid. The typical dwarf with a beautiful beard, you work with your hands and are physically sturdy. You seem informed about rocks, which is weird, try not to obsess or the session will get wordy. Elves are pompous pricks, a dozen flavors to match and mix, they live a long time, don't sleep instead trance, and are hard to be charmed, so bards keep it in your pants. Pick a Fearbulk, a chill-ass cow, most of which have druidic vow, and don't ask how, but they can turn invisible, which is a big concern. Genasi, elemental genie bastards, one of 4 elements that they have mastered in some way, lets them do cool shit like waterbend or have a fire-breathing armpit. Githyanki and Githzerai, elves that look like they wanna die, all they're about is how they clash, been around 40 years and their lore's still trash. Short stack, gnome, happy short folk who are smart and wise and cunning and know how to crack into good camouflage, be it sneaking or magic or cool roguish montage. Whack is the goblin, small size hits hard on your noggin, their nimbleness makes it hard to keep pace, they'll hide and bide, quick slide and hit your face. Muscles are in, though I have bias, so the hottest IMO is Goliath. They're 8 feet tall, have steel for their balls, and can shrug off damage like one-man riots. Half-elves, the mutts and mules of D&D, extra points to spend on 2 abilities and skills out the assets of best of both races, and backstories usually come from stupid places. Half-orc, like I said, muscles are in, you're a ruthless brute who fights to win, your crits get crits and you can terrify, and if you feel like it, you can say no when you die. If your luck is nasty, the halfling's good, you re-roll ones and win like you should, and you're hard to scare, so go party with a dragon, and you can slip through if it's angry off the flagon. Humans get a little bit of everything, they lack gimmicks or special flair or anything, and are all around average, you know how it is, and the perfect pick if you're boring. Races, all the races. Races, all the races. There's plenty to choose from, too many, so come witness the list of this guide to all of the races. Goblin. They trust in a code, be it God or communism or giant toad. They're a prideful chode, so whenever you fail, the more watch or retry means you go beast mode. If you're an edgy avian, Kenku sneaky, agile and crafty and can easily lie. They can mimic voices to be a bit cheeky. Too bad they get bullied because they can't fly. The kobold is a mischievous one. They hate bright light, and there's often more than one. They can trick dumb fools and steal their jewels, but ganging up together can be pretty fun. Guess it's scaly hours, cause lizard folk have sticks up their ass and can't take a joke. They can bite and craft and stay a while underwater and have hard-ass scales to block cannon fodder. Loxodon are straight-up elephants. They're large size and thick hide make them dense. Got trunks to smell and are wise and mostly merry, but piss one off and you'll see they're damn scary. Wanna breathe underwater? Lokatha is a fish. A straight-up fish. Literally, just a fish. Your armor starts high and get tons of resistance. Stay dry and you die, you're still just a fish. Big beastly bull is a minotaur. Got horns to charge if you run pretty far. Make them shit their pants while you're at it. Being big and scary is a habit. Speaking of, orcs, superstitious and strong, but also often wrong with a -2 to int. That's okay, so to say, you're aggressive and massive. Got angry parents means they're rarely passive. Cat girls rejoice. Tabaxi is here. Obsessed with stuff and quite the sightseer. Fast like a cat, get claws and climb far. Tons of coats like leopard, tiger, and jaguar. Tiefling's a demon with a lot of looks. They're horny and hot and often a provoker. In the lore anyway, a lot of hate. It's normal, I guess, when you're a panty soaker. If you want to be a big reptilian who's strong and hardy, then Tortle has a shell that's AC's a million, so have fun being a hermit immortal. Triton is just an aquatic elf who evolved itself in the continental shelf, and you're basically Aquaman. Fish can understand you. No, they won't do your laundry just because you demand to. The Verdant, like a goblin, but pretentious. Mind powers that make mystics contentious. Bunch of passive shit. What is this, peace hour? Come back and talk to me when you learn real power. You anti-pureblood like humans, but snaky. Never make a date with one, I hear they're flaky. Manipulative bunch with magic resistance. Don't take their oral offer, no matter the persistence. Fair human mix is the Kalishtar. Got a lot of mind shit that's really bizarre, like telepathy. Dream protectively, like angels if they couldn't be effectively. The Shifters, like a half lycanthrope, with 4 different types with exclusive features. You can't transform, at least not fully, so you often look more like a freakish creature. Simic hybrids are a random fusion of aquatic things, like a squid or a crab. Gain bonuses, depending which one, so have some big pincers for new ways to stab. Warforged, robots forged for war, don't have to eat or sleep or breathe, and what's more is you're tanky as well, being hard to steal. The only downside is you'll never truly feel. Vidalkin tells us nobody's perfect. Look like Navi people without the long neck, they get lots of bonuses, so smart's not shocking. Good luck ever getting one to stop talking. And that's the lot, and always remember class race importance is pretty seldom. Use whatever you fancy, make a chubby fighter dancing, now you know how to pick your race. You're welcome. Races, all the races. Races, all the races. There's plenty to choose from, too many, so come witness the list of this guide to all of the races, all the races. What's wrong, you pathetic, sad, procrastinating dungeon master? Can't come up with a worthwhile and interesting combat encounter and you only have half an hour before the session because you spent the last week fascinating about a totally different campaign you wish to run one day but ultimately know you never will because you're in a constant state of prep work and insecurity? That's okay, everybody knows no matter how basic the combat is, it's going to take forever anyway thanks to any spellcasters and people on their phones, and is mostly just a chance for the DM to stall for time while they figure out the next story beats. That and an excuse to show off whatever art of the thing the players are fighting that the DM paid $3 grand in commissions or miniatures to make for them. Or you could just grab whatever the nearest thing on your shelf is and say, fuck it, we're fighting this little bastard today. Welcome to A Crap Guide to D&D. Goblins are one of the most iconic creatures in Dungeons & Dragons, famous for being low and mid-level cannon fodder, having the respawn rate of a seahorse playing Call of Duty, and being overall superior to kobolds in every way. Goblins are what you default to when you have no idea what the party should be fighting because they're just so splattered all over the realm that everyone just accepts that they can show up anywhere. Alright, got myself some milk and cookies for some hunts, and I'll open the fridge and put the milk back where it went, and close the fridge and go get my milk. God, Jesus, what the fuck? Goblins were originally created by the hobgoblins, who one day got really lazy and decided to make a generation of poor saps that they could shove all their baggage onto and then blame for when the economy they don't have a say in gets destroyed. This has sort of evolved into how goblins mostly live in tribes where the biggest asshole is the leader and everybody else is just sort of used to being treated as poorly as a retail worker. That's not to say all goblins are meek little green muppets. Given enough size and numbers and time to prepare an ambush, and even the most basic goblin squads can turn an 8th level party into the aftermath of eating at White Castle. This is because goblins are a culture constantly raiding like they're trying to get world first and have a knack for throwing themselves at the first thing they they see that looks like they could potentially bite its ear off. They're also somewhat smart. Leaders of goblin tribes consistently placing first in tournaments of Connect 4, and the race as a whole frequently mounting and fighting alongside creatures such as wargs, which are oversized wolves that are perpetually angry as people keep stealing their art off Instagram. If you ever decide to play as a goblin, you'll receive a little bit of dex and con from being agile and resilient little gremlins, and the ability to quickly pussy out of combat like you're at a friend's house and the parents started arguing. And Fury of the Small, where you get to punch below the belt and make the enemy's voice go up as many octaves as your player level. Now that's the general idea of what goblins are supposed to be in the Forgotten Realms, but this is D&D, which means everybody breaks the rules more than an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the fact that goblins are so adaptable to so many situations and environments means that there's no limit to how they can be portrayed or what they can be used for. You can make them mindless monsters that fill the last few empty rooms of a dungeon, or adorable little scamps that the party will adopt the instant they see them, or design them so unexpectedly attractive that it'll make people question if they discovered a new fetish or if it was there all along and this was just its awakening. You too can throw an endless supply of XP at your party while giving them conflicting feelings on stomping on an innocent little cutie pie that was just minding its own business and just wanted a little bit of love. Isn't that right, you sweetie petite? Ow, son of a bitch. And now you know how to use goblins. Booyag! Oh yeah, Crap Guide Goblin plushie available on Makeship. First 100 orders using the code JoCat gets 15% off.
Didn't you already make a crap guide to Barbarian?
Well, yes, but actually no, that one's garbage. It's shit. It's poopy-doopy and in need of some update and polish like a live service game 2 minutes after release. I've gained a whopping 1 additional point in my intelligence since then, and I'm now superior in every way. Smarter, stronger, more wiggly than ever before. And this is the only one I'm doing, so don't hold your breath for the others. They're perfect forever. So let's start from the top. D&D is for dorks, what with all the complex words and math. It's packed to the brim with a bunch of mechanics and systems, and nobody has the time to read because they're too busy not playing D&D. But no worries, you third-string athlete who occasionally looks at their old high school pictures and then reflects in the mirror wondering what happened. Lucky for you, I have a class that'll need as much brainpower as Varsity had to use on their midterms. And all you gotta do is learn how to throw a tiny plastic icosahedron just like how you threw every single game coach put you into. Welcome to a crap guide to D&D. Everybody likes to hit things, and D&D is the best because you can literally hit anything you want, including the other players, and what better class to hit everything than the Barbarian, who's the best at hitting things and never stopping hitting things. Having a D12 hit die means you have around a Googleplex of hit points by level 2, and unarmored defense means the chunkier you are, the better you can block and avoid attacks because the enemy's too distracted at how your fat hairy tits are flailing about. Better yet, you have Spider Sense, which allows you to avoid traps, spells, social events, and laundry like you've just moved out of your parents' house and are trying to get your life together. But enough about defense, the real reason to play Barbarian is to hit it very hard, going into a bloodthirsty rage! You can channel your anger into the might of 1,000 dads who just felt the thermostat get adjusted, and during your rage you become the world's greatest goblin juicer. You gain bonus damage, advantage on strength checks, and any and all physical attacks will bounce off of your day 1 patched pecs. As you gain levels, you get progressively angrier and angrier, getting a straight up flat increase to your movement speed and extra heavy swing when you land a crit, and become too angry to die potentially forever as long as you keep hitting things. As far as flavors of goes, there's the Berserker if you want to swing your weapon like it's taped to a ceiling fan, mistaken stupidity for bravery, and have an unlimited supply of Uno reverse cards. Alternatively, the Totem Warrior is like a gateway furry, where you channel your favorite Robin Hood crush and pretend everybody is Prince John. Battle Ranger to become a really pissed porcupine. Storm Herald if you want to make the environment around you as pissed as you are. Zealot if you want to be a diet paladin with a smite and aura that's made with 0 sugar. And Ancestral Guardian if you're a scared little bitch. Offense is the only offense, and I will have none of these tactics in my combat encounters. What, you thought I biggered my brain so I could think harder and waste time when all that planning fails because of a bad roll, and then I have to sit around being useless for the rest of the session? What do you take me for, some kind of wizard? Well, do you, huh? Fuck you, I'll beat the shit out of you. You think you're better than me just because you can count? I hope you like being pavement lotion because you're gonna be filling all the cracks in my driveway. And now you know how to play Barbarian, you're welcome. Hi, I just wanted to take a sec for more people to notice and understand this disclaimer. Most importantly, this part, I don't actually want to upset anybody. It's all part of the character, and I hope everyone keeps that in mind. We good? Okay. Everybody likes personality quizzes, right? See what's your spirit animal, how burnt of a toasted slice of bread you are, what's your worst trait as an employee based on the brand of cereal you like to buy. They're great because most of the time, if you don't like what the quiz results give you, you can look up which answers contribute to what result and just get the one that you wanted in the first place and then brag about it on social media. Wow, would you look at that? I'm such a Slytherin because I'm so cunning, right? Yeah, well, joke's on you, that was all an intelligent ruse. I'm actually a Ravenclaw. Or am I? Same with star signs. They're just vague enough that they can boil down to, you're a thoughtful individual who sometimes overthinks things and can be impulsive, but in the end of the
the day wants to do the best that you can for the people you care about while never settling for the worst possible outcome.
And I could say I just described a Libra and they'd eat that shit up like they're a pet that just found some stray cardboard. Luckily, Dungeons & Dragons doesn't have any of that dumb personality shit that nerds argue about for hours on the internet in hopes to totally pwn the other side with facts and logic or anything. Welcome to A Crap Guide to D&D. An old relic of the past and the easiest way to start fights both on and offline, the D&D alignment chart is its version of a personality quiz that no one can agree on. You've likely seen this tic-tac-toe board being used with pop culture characters being placed in each segment, giving a vague idea of what each of them means. But then all it takes is for you to put someone in the wrong place and then everyone starts throwing fists as if they had just found out that you used their facial hair razor to shave your butthole. Remember, characters can only be one alignment forever and must only ever do things considered to be that alignment because thinking about character depth and development is hard, and when people disagree with me, I take it as a personal attack. More importantly, as a player, you get to say what your character's alignment is, and no one can ever debate that you're not playing that alignment because you know your character better than they do, and they're just jealous and wish their scrubby sheet was as cool as yours, so they can suck fat nards. Small smooth brains think lawful means the literal sense as in following the law, but instead what it really means is having a strict set of rules, whether it be moral, legal, or because your boss is telling you to do it. It's one of the most predictable alignments. 99% of the time when a lawful character sets out to do something through a promise or obligation, they actually follow through, which is why they make great fitness instructors, because when they say they're not gonna fuck your mom, they actually don't fuck your mom. A lawful good act is keeping the promise because it's the right thing to do. A lawful neutral keeps the promise because it is a promise and they're gonna stick by it even if fucking your mom saves the universe. And a lawful evil keeps the promise because they're gonna fuck your dad instead since you technically didn't say anything about him. Inversely, the chaotic side of the chart are for characters that don't give a fuck about their integrity and do whatever the hell they want because they feel like it. Small smooth brains will use this alignment as an excuse to be a total wangrod and have an inconsistent character with no definable traits. Also known as the chaotic alignment's more recognizable cousin, the stupid alignment, with its constant wacky lol so random XD approach to playing their character. The most common examples of chaotic acts are lying, cheating, and stealing, aka part of a rogue's balanced breakfast. A chaotic good is stealing from the rich and giving to the less fortunate. A chaotic neutral cheats to win a tournament and uses the winnings to eat something aside from a bread sandwich every night. And a chaotic evil will lie about not fucking your dad again and then burst into his bedroom as soon as you blink like a really slutty weeping angel. The good and evil sides of the alignment chart are pretty straightforward. Good is if you're a good person, and evil if you're a jackass. But that's a small smooth brain surface level understanding of good and evil, as in no, just because you don't stab people doesn't mean not stabbing them is a good act just because stabbing them is a lot easier. Good acts are ones that go out of the character's way to do good and help others, sometimes even to the good person's detriment, and oftentimes even if there's no promise of any sort of reward in return for the act. Like using your own hand to get a friend's favorite Lego set out of the toilet, even after a night of really spicy curry. In contrast, evil is pretty straightforward, i.e. actions that could actively harm people, or not caring about how those actions could knowingly harm people. An evil act would be being the person who threw the Lego set into the toilet, knowing full well it could be somebody's favorite. But good and evil doesn't just mean motives, it means methods too, and just because you have nice ends doesn't mean having mean means makes it any less mean. Example, you've caught a kidnapper and need to find out where they're hiding their captive so you can save them. A good act could be offering some snacks and a binge watch of their favorite show in return for information, whereas an evil act would be chopping their nipples off. The neutral cross of the alignment chart is for players who are terrified of commitment and refers to acts that either don't fall on either side of the good, evil, or lawful chaotic side of the spectrum, or characters that are horse for choice and like to do whatever tickles their pickle the most depending on the situation. Maybe they'll be employee of the month for one boss and then shit on the desk of their next. Basically, the neutral ends of the alignment chart are the most pure and concentrated, like the curvature of my butt cheeks, and do basically anything and everything that could be considered the essence of that side of the chart. And of course the middle ground, true neutral, aka the one that's always playing devil's advocate for literally everything, like they spend 10 hours a day discussing opinions on Reddit. And there you have it, the totally accurate, totally objective descriptions for each side of the alignment chart with no room for any other interpretations whatsoever. And if anyone tries to argue otherwise, they can suck fat nards. Also, never let players pick their own alignment, because when they do, it actually looks like this.
But that's totally because I'm such a Gemini and we don't think people are self-aware enough to be able to categorize themselves without being subconsciously influenced by their own personal biases.
And now you know how to use alignment. You're welcome. You may think you know D&D, but guess what, nerd? You don't. Not until you understand what the fuck is all this shit. What is this? What is this? Why do I need to know animal handling? The fuck is Arcana? The shit are hit dice. What's a proficiency bonus? Why are Electrum pieces so stupid? Well, strap in for a formal education, ass hair. I'm gonna reteach you how to do math, because let's be honest, you still use a calculator to add and subtract single digits. Welcome to A Crap Guide to D&D. This is your character sheet. Your character cannot exist without it. However, it doesn't always have to look like this. It could be a simple flashcard, a scribbling in a notebook, or an app on your phone if you like being spoon-fed like a baby who laughs at the phrase pee-pee poo-poo watermelon. And when playing as a character in D&D, you will refer to the character sheet whenever you have to roll the various kinds of dice that decide the outcome of your actions. Many are intimidated by this mighty thingy's magnificence, but mourn them ye shall not, for they be weak-ass bitches. It looks like a whole lot, but get a hold of yourself and take it one step at a time. The first person to voluntarily stick something up their butt didn't get anywhere by crying about how intimidating it is to stick something up their butt. They just did it, and look how far we've come. First of all, at the top we have the basics: name, class, race, background, and dumb BuzzFeed quiz results. These things will determine later things, so don't worry about those things until we come to them later. But if you don't know what you want those to be yet, that's okay. We can mosey on over to this tower of pimps, which will be the most important part of your entire sheet.
Ability scores.
These are your basic stats, the strengths and weaknesses of your character, and the main determiner of whether you're gonna be snooping or spooping when dungeoning those dragons. Strength is your strong, heaping muscles, how much shit you can carry, how well you can push or pull heavy objects, and how well you can make your pecs dance. It also determines the weapon damage for most melee weapons, but we'll get to that later. Next is dexterity, the little bitch version of strength. It's your hand-eye coordination, reflexes, and balance, and how well you can hide your handheld when you hear mommy and daddy stomping up to your room like Godzilla. Where strength is about how you can plow through a table being thrown at you, dex is about how you can limbo walk under it. Dex can also be used with what are called finesse weapons, which lets you pick between the two physical stats when rolling attacks and damage in case you skipped arm day. Constitution is your general vitality, how healthy you are, your endurance, and is used for rolls as frequently as a millennial eats breakfast. It mostly only affects your overall hit points, but it's still fairly important and can be treated like the amount of candy in your pantry. You only realize how little you have once you see somebody else with lots of it. Intelligence is dumb. That is, unless you pump it up for big galaxy brains and become smarter than the average bugbear. It's used for general knowledge-based checks involving things like recalling info on history, magic, religion, and most importantly, defeating things with facts and logic. To generalize, it's book smart, so you know a lot of things. It's also used as a spellcasting modifier for both the Wizard and Artificer classes. Oh, don't worry, we'll get to spellcasting later. Impatient bitch. Wisdom is one that confuses a lot of people because they think it's just like intelligence, and I'm willing to bet those are the kinds of people who think cheese and mayonnaise can coexist on a sandwich. No, wisdom is more your street smarts and also general senses. It's knowledge based on practice and experience. No, not that experience. And it's the difference between knowing if a plant is poisonous and knowing that the person who told you it was poisonous lied about it because they don't want you finding their beloved lemon tree, you damn lemon whores. It's also the casting ability of clerics, druids, and rangers. Finally is charisma, how to tell if your character fucks. It can mean anything from your general likability to approachability to public speaking ability to betting ability. It's your charm, your confidence, and general way with people, whether it be luring them into a trap or aggressively scaring them so bad that they actively jump onto the trap out of fearful compliance. And it's the casting ability for bards, paladins, sorcerers, and warlocks, because remember, you gotta look pretty for the boss patron if you want to get that big eldritch bonus. Now that we're done covering ability scores, we can go over how you get them. And there are 3 generally used methods. If you're a wee baby who needs to meticulously make your perfect OC or else it won't be faithful to your precious self-insert, there's the point buy system, which works like a basic video game. All your stats start at 8 and you have a pool of points, usually 27, to distribute between them all, with the cost going up to 2 points per ability score increase higher than 13 and the cap being at 15. If you hate math, that's too bad because there's going to be loads of it later, but if you want slightly less of it, there's also standard array, which gives you the numbers 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8 to arrange on any of your scores. But if that's still too much choice and you want to put your character into the grubby hands of RNGesus, there's the most widely known method, which is rolling 4d6 and dropping the lowest number. This can get you scores anywhere from a whopping 18 to a poo-poo dookie 3 if your DM is a sadist and doesn't do grace rolls, but often results in overall chunkier stats. Whatever method you do, each number corresponds to a second number. Ooh boy, are you overwhelmed yet? You have to keep track of 2 whole numbers. What a crazy catastrophic conundrum. Well, don't you worry your stubby earlobes because those big numbers aren't really that important. Their main purpose is to determine a smaller number called a modifier, which means you can totally ignore this number when you actually start to pillage the village. There's a fairly simple mathematical equation to figure out what each number's bonus is, but I know you're a dumb silly pants, so here's a chart. Now will you stop crying about it? The reason the ability modifier is important is because it's what you add to your dice roll whenever they're applicable. So if you have a lot of strength, you're gonna get a little extra oomph whenever you need to punch the vending machine when your chips are stuck. Have low charisma and you're gonna have a hard time convincing the janitor that you weren't the one who broke it. Keep in mind you can still roll great with low stats and roll badly with high stats, but having high ability modifiers makes it so your rolls are more in your favor. Now that you have your scores all placed and your modifiers figured out, now we can determine where those modifiers go, which means we can look at this spaghetti jumbly mess of words. Now don't go running a mommy calculator just yet, it's so easy even Fighter-Man can figure it out. At the top here are your saving throws. These are your defenses and resistances to various bads that want to smush you up and turn you into a turd. Things like traps, area of effects, most spells, and that little voice telling you that you're making poor decisions. You don't roll these on your own most of the time, instead your DM will ask you to make them whenever you're put in harm's way. And you see these little spaces? That's where your ability modifiers go. That's right! This way you can refer to these numbers numbers to add to your rolls whenever they come into play. Look how smart you are, I could just give you a wedgie right now. Next are your skills. These are the various different capabilities your character is able to do in a regular game of D&D. And each one is affected by your ability scores, just like your saving throws. And just like your saving throws, there's this trusty little space for you to put your awesome stonking and or poodoo modifiers. And how can you tell what ability mod goes where? Well, you foolish mortal wombat. Just look at this helpful little parentheses that tells you what it's attributed to. Go down the list and now you have a reference for what your character's good or terrible at. Got high dex? Well, congratulations, your sleight of hand means you can cheat at poker better. Bad at intelligence? Well, then you're probably not going to know who President Dingle Bloopy Noop is during the history segment of Are You Smarter Than a Kobold? Now, we're not quite done yet with this llama lot. We gotta go over what proficiency is.
Proficiency.
Proficiency is what separates the fake gamers from the hardcore top 500 ultra platinum uber pros, and you can find it in this little dingle. Starting at level 1, your proficiency bonus is 2, and it increases as you level up more and more. Basic gist, it goes up by 1 every 4 levels. This number is added to anything you are proficient, aka trained with. And as far as saving throws and skills go, this will be signified by a little check mark, and which ones those little check marks go into is determined by a combination of your class, background, and on rare occasion, race. For example, a fighter has proficiency in strength and con saving throws, so wha-bam, wha-bam! Add those numbers. They also get to choose 2 skills to be proficient with from this list according to the Parrot Hambone. Normally you would pick your own, but here we're just gonna go athletics and perception. Wha-bam! Wha-bam! Let's say you're also a hermit. You get these 2 skills to be proficient in. Wha-bam! Wha-bam! Always remember, whenever you're proficient with something, it means you get to add this sexy number on top of whatever appropriate ability modifier that's added to the dice roll you make. Proficient in athletics, roll a d20, add strength mod, add proficiency bonus. And if at any point you forget what you're proficient in, just refer back to the player handbook for your race, class, and background. Congratulations, you now know how 90% of Dungeons and Dragons works. You feeling smart yet? You feeling like you can wrestle a spider cow? Well, sit the hell back down because we're not done yet.
Combat.
Now that we're done with the stat portion of the character sheet, we can look at the combat portion. This section is what you refer to when your DM says clickety-clackety, you're about to get attackety. Up at the very top left is your armor class, or AC for short. This by default is 10 plus your dexterity modifier. No, I said the modifier, not the score, pay attention. However, this can be increased by the different types of armor. Whichever one you start with will depend on which class you pick. Next is initiative. Whenever an encounter begins, initiative is rolled and determines who goes first and who stacks dice for the next half hour. This number is the same as your dexterity modifier and is added to your initiative roll at the beginning of an encounter. And this last little block is speed, which is how much you can move across the checkerboard each turn. Each square equaling 5 feet of movement if you're normal and use the Imperial system, and is initially determined by your race or how well you can try to convince your DM that your character ran track in high school. Below that are the hit points, maximum, current, and temporary. Your maximum hit points is like an anime fan's figure shelf after about 2 conventions. You can try to fit more, but we all know any extras are gonna have to sit on your desk next to all your empty cups. It's determined by your class, each one having its own size of hit die plus your constitution modifier. Because D&D is a communist game and believes in universal healthcare, at first level you always receive the highest possible roll for hit points. But for every consecutive level, you can either roll for it or take the coward's way out and take the average increase instead. And then your current hit points are pretty obvious. It's the amount of blood you still have inside your body at the moment. Reach 0 and your character skips 50 seconds ahead of this video. Lastly, there are temporary hit points, which go above the maximum hit points and you only ever get on special occasions via spells, special abilities, or the local grandma lizardfolk just made you a delicious bowl of her legally ambiguous performance-enhancing herbal soup. Keep in mind a couple of things. Temporary hit points are kind of like the skin-tight leather jackets from the 90s X-Men movies, in that they don't stack on top of each other and you have to pick which one you want to keep if given multiple of them, and if you're on the floor dying from a stab wound, putting it on won't magically stitch it together. And what are these 2 lonely boxicles? Well, my stupid student, they're yin and yang, 2 sides of a coin, one for when you're alive and the other for when you're unalive, the former being your hit dice. You have as many of these as your player level and can spend them whenever you take a sit for as long as a single episode of a Netflix original show to recover your hit points. What size of hit dice is once again determined by your class, and you get them back whenever you binge an entire season's worth of a Netflix original show. But what do you do when you're bleeding out while dressed in a 90s teenager's idea of a sexy badass superhero? If your current hit points ever reach 0, you have to look over on this touch-deprived box and start rolling death saves, where you gamble with Grim each turn and roll your most well-behaved d20 to see whether you luck back to life or have a very awkward reunion with those bandits you killed 5 minutes ago. Roll a 10 or higher and you gain a success, 9 or lower and you get a failure, 2 failures if you drop a fat stinky nat 1, 3 successes or a lucky 20 and you hop back to 1 hit point, 3 failures and your character sheet becomes the DM's ass-wiping supplies.
Attacks.
This section is where you throw in all your various flavors of stabs. If you have a weapon or attack of some kind, you write it in here and refer to it during combat. Say it's a sword and shield, yes, both. You would write down the name of the weapon here, then next to it is the attack bonus, aka how accurate your weapon is. No, not the damage. This number is determined by your strength modifier for most weapons, unless it's a ranged weapon like a bow, in which case you use your dex mod instead. Or if it has the finesse property, which allows you to pick either. On top of that, if you're proficient with that weapon, you can add that good old bonus to it too.
But how do you know if you're proficient with a weapon?
Let's put a peen in that. Alternatively, if it's a spell attack like Eldritch Your attack bonus becomes your spellcasting ability modifier. Let's take a bard for instance, which is the slut stat plus your proficiency bonus. Whenever you roll a d20 to see if your attack lands, you get to add this number to the total. Alternatively, if it's a spell or special item like a bunch of ball bearings thrown in attempts to recreate Home Alone that requires the enemy to make a saving throw, you can put the saving throw and difficulty class there instead. But how do you know what that number is? We're gonna put a peen in that too, shut up! Once you have that number, to the right of it is the damage roll, aka how aggressively you're going to introduce the enemy's face to your sword. This is included in the description of whatever weapon or spell you were using. Whether it be a light jab at their insecurities, a proverbial pounding of pornographic proportions, or 8d6 fire damage in a 20-foot radius, just fire them! Most weapons also include your strength modifier to the damage, unless once again it's a ranged weapon which uses dexterity or a finesse weapon which uses either. The difference being that you don't add your proficiency bonus to this roll unless something says otherwise, and most spells don't add any additional modifiers unless their wall of text explicitly says so. And lastly, make sure you include what kind of damage you're dealing so your DM can know that your psychic damaging vicious mockery won't do much against a revenant because their self-esteem is already in the grave. To recap, when you attack, roll a d20, add this number which is these, then if you hit the enemy's AC, you roll these, and add this number which is this.
Spellcasting.
We're gonna take a little break from the main sheet to look at this sheet that has a list of all your accomplishments. Oh, look at that, it's blank. This is the spell sheet. If you're playing a character that's capable of casting spells, then you're gonna take a gander over to this sheet whenever you cast them. Up here at the top, you can put your spellcasting class in case you're absurd and tend to forget which spells go where, your casting ability, which will depend on the class, your spell save difficulty class, and your spell attack bonus. So hey, remember that peen we put in for spells in your attacks? Well, it's time to unpucker that sucker, because here it is, the spell save difficulty class, also known as DC. This is referred to whenever you cast a spell that requires the enemy to make a saving throw. And how this is calculated is 8 plus your cast mod plus your pof bone. Once you've got all that figured out, the rest of the sheet is for keeping track of all your spells and slots. You write down the spells you have for each level, how many slots you have total as well as expended, and if you have the spell prepared or not. Note, only certain casting capable classes apply. Please refer to the player handbook or any other supplementary book regarding your class to find information on what methods you have to go about obtaining and preparing spells. What, unsure of what spell slots are because your brain's too smooth? Well, sit the shit back dit you get and listen up. The weakest level of spells are called cantrips, or sometimes level 0 if you don't care about hurting their feelings, and they can be cast as many times a day as you want. First level spells and upwards, however, require a resource called spell slots to be cast, or else you'll have to find out the hard way that casting Thunderwave without having your beauty sleep will make the life or death battle with the Underlord of Darkness a lot less epic and a lot more smelling like last night's kebabs. And if the name spell slot makes things too confusing for you, you can use my personal preferred name for them, Mage Bullets. How many Mage Bullets you have per spell level and how you recover them is determined by your specific class and level. So just like 99% of this entirely redundant video, if you want more information, it's best to read the parking himbo. And keep track of your goddamn slots. Because if you don't and just so happen to be able to cast 5 mage hands a day under section 3 chapter 1 paragraph 12 of the Code of Gelatinous Noobs, the DM has full rights to eat your dice.
Characteristics.
After looking in the mirror and taking some serious self-reflection after the apocalyptic chasm of the divide of the fanbase that was 4th edition of D&D, Wizards of the Coast started to take into consideration for the next version of D&D what gameplay features they wanted to invite to future parties and what gameplay features they needed to take out back and tell to think about the pretty space butterflies. One such old yeller victim was the Virgin alignment chart being completely overshadowed by the Chad personal characteristics, each one being a useful tool to remind you of your character's interests, motivations, shortcomings, and sexual fantasies. You never know if you're gonna end up having to fuck your way out of a problem, so it helps to be prepared and know exactly what position would be the most in character. Personality traits are the broad strokes of your character. Likes, dislikes, interests, manners, whether or not they think something's a soup or a salad. Ideals are their drive, their principles, and what they vote for during election time. Or if they don't care about voting at all and prefer to stay home to catch a once-in-a-lifetime live marathon rerun of Animal Planet's The Most Extreme. Bonds are personal attachments and experiences they've had. It could be a good friend, a fond memory, or your favorite glow-in-the-dark bouncy ball that always seemed to bounce a little bit weirder than all the other ones. And lastly, flaws, which 99% of the players don't actually understand and will probably put something inconsequential, like clumsy. Not me though, because I'm flawless and perfect. Oh, you don't think so? Well, could a person with weaknesses do this?
All of this other shit.
Now remember that peen we put in wondering how you know what weapons you're proficient with? That goes down here, by the way, and that, along with basically every other section we've yet to cover, can be figured out in this next part, which is what I like to call the copying it over from the book section of the character creation, because that's basically all you do for the rest of the sheet. I gotta pick a background, check the player handbook. What proficiencies do I get? Check the player handbook. What about feats and traits? Check the player handbook. What's my starting equipment? Check the player handbook. Or any other supplementary book relevant to your chosen race, class, background, a la Volo's Guide, Xanathar's Guide, Eberron Rising, etc. And with all that done, congratulations, you now have a completed and fully functioning character sheet, ready to be used once, then completely lost, then found again once you've already redone a second one, or if you're lucky, one that will be used consistently over the course of several years to the point where there's more eraser skid marks than pencil lead, and the once firm sheet of paper turning as soft as a tissue person's dick after seeing you in the shower. Now you know how to use a character sheet. You're welcome. Hey, you kind of forgot to write your backstory. Fuck! So you've got a character sheet all written out and a couple of friends who want to play D&D, but you're missing one vital component. The world, the characters, the laws of physics everyone's gonna break to make for cool moments you'll commission artists on the internet to draw for you. But such a role requires leadership, initiative, a total willingness to have a bunch of children stomp on all your ideas in favor of doing funny memes and stupid scenarios. Despite all that, such a title has an extremely low barrier to entry and is probably the most important thing at your entire role-playing table, and without one, the game will not exist. So anybody and everybody should perform the duty at least once for the sake of their fellow players, begging for a chance to experience this wonderful pastime. So long as I don't have to be the one to do it. What? Fine. Welcome to a crap guide to Dungeons and Dragons. The Dungeon Master, or Game Master if you like clay in your soup, is the mind behind the magic and who decides just about everything that happens in the game besides the player's own choices. Your role as a DM is to control and describe literally every single little detail that happens during the game, as you are the game. The game cannot exist without a Dungeon Master. As the DM, you call the shots based on how the rules work, or if you don't like the rules and say, shoot that poot, and come up with your own. Otherwise, how else are you supposed to know if your rules lawyering player is giving you correct information and isn't just making an elaborate manipulative plot to trick you into giving them a pet displacer beast? Fortunately for you, if you aren't sure or don't remember how a certain rule works, you can always just look it up, because being a good DM is about applying information, not memorizing it, unlike the American education system. Outside of the rules, though, you are the bridge between the players and the fantasy world they're playing in, describing everything that's going on in excruciating detail, like a radio show, but with a lot more awkward pauses. Everything they fuck, marry, or kill is through the context of how you describe it, which means you have to be incredibly deliberate with your vocabulary and respect the Oxford comma, or else you might make the wrong translation of what's going on in your brain to the players, who may then think the innocent bystander NPC is actually a murderer, because you accidentally stuttered when voicing them, saying they were just doing their tasks. There are quite a few ways information can be put across to the players, and it all comes down to the DM's preferred style of presentation! Many pop culture depictions of the nerd ritual often show an ornately carved and treated mahogany table, players dressed in professional cosplay on par with 2000s Hollywood costumes, atmospheric mood lighting that'll make a hardcore dom blush, background music and ambience that's like a spa day for your ear canals, and detailed miniatures, maps, and set pieces painted by angels using brushes made from the nose hairs of the gods. Now, do you need all these fancy, expensive, and superfluous amounts of presentation and stimulus in order to have a worthwhile Dungeons and Dragons experience for your players? Of course you do. Fork it over, bitch. Your wallet could lose a few extra pounds. But even with all the fanciest of theatrics, every Dungeon Master has to rely on the ever-prevalent theater of the mind, where everyone has to use their imagination to visualize what's happening in your grand spanking fantasy world. So a game of D&D doesn't have to cost hundreds of dollars and can be anything from a massive theatrical event to a hangout with the bros with cardboard cutout minis to even sitting in a restaurant with napkins for character sheets and the salt and pepper shakers are the evil queen of spice and her angry white steed. No matter what, you'll always eventually have to rely on the most useful creation of all mankind that can raise armies and fell nations. Words. Never underestimate the power of a good thesaurus, because inevitably there will be a situation where all your fancy props won't suffice and you will have to learn how to use Old English vernacular. As the DM, most of your responsibility all boils down to allowing the players to interact with your grand spankin' fantasy world, and how they do that can be summarized in one simple action: rolling dice. When a player wants to do something, anything, the DM is the one who decides if the player rolls dice, what dice they roll, and the outcome of the roll of the dice. Then just about everything else is an extension of that one single responsibility, which is why nobody wants to do it, because one single responsibility is far too many. An extension of that, the DM's the encyclopedia of the D&D game. If there's history in the world, it's the DM's job to know it. When the players are fighting bad guys, it's the DM's job to keep track of the enemy's abilities, hit points, and sexual orientation, just in case, you never know. If a player resurrects their long-dead uncle, it's the DM's job to have read their backstory to know said uncle was a drunk rocketeer who eats horseshoe crabs. And when the players bring up how the plot and characters are oddly similar to Lord of the Rings, it's the DM's job to kick their ass. The scariest part about being a Dungeon Master, however, is the improv. Since you can't anticipate every single possible possibility the players can possibly make possible, you have to think on the fly and figure out how those possible things could be possible. If the player character tries to eavesdrop on somebody, you have to come up with what they hear. If somebody eats too many beans and farts, you gotta come up with how it smells. And if the party decides to run off some other direction rather than the main plot, you have to come up with what they run into. Like another town, or a dangerous hag, or even the main plot, because you moved it over there since the giant glowing breadcrumbs in the shape of story progress this way wasn't obvious enough. If you think you can prepare pre-written answers for every possible question the players could come up with, I'm gonna have to stop you right there, because no the fuck you can't. Somebody at some point in time will do something that'll turn your no-pants bad dreams into a reality, and you gotta figure out then and there whether you're gonna get a new pair or just roll with it while the players see your metaphorical junk swaying in the breeze. So with all that easy to digest and totally not intimidating stack of expectations that doesn't even scratch the surface of what it takes to be a Dungeon Master out of the way, the question now becomes, how does one even start being a Dungeon Master?
Just
Do it!
No matter what, you'll want a copy of the player handbook, since it has a majority of the most common rules. As far as actual content goes, though, the most baby-friendly way is to purchase a pre-written adventure, one of these buggers, which will usually have a plot, characters, encounters, villains, and plenty of faffing about material for your players. However, if that's too much punishment on your wallet, the natural safe word is making a campaign of your own. The thing about safe words, though, is it often stops things in their tracks, so it will require you to come up with most of the aforementioned plot, characters, encounters, villains, and faffing material yourself, which can take anywhere from the night of binge writing to never, because you only ever think about your ideas and never write it down. Either way you go with, once you have the skeleton of your campaign ready, you gotta start filling it with internal organs. And as anyone who's taken biology can tell you, organs are gross and messy and can often go misplaced, so you just have to substitute a kidney with a moldy sponge for a bit while you go find it. That is until suddenly the blood cells start making friends with the sponge and it becomes more effective than an actual kidney and you start to question everything you've ever learned in school. So good fucking luck figuring out how to balance spending time preparing to run a campaign and spending time actually running a campaign. Do you spend entire weeks drawing maps, writing possible paths and dialogue options for characters down to the description of their cousin's boyfriend's dog's favorite chew toy? Or do you just spend the week doing some faffing about of your own and then spend the final half hour leading up to the session time frantically writing down bits from a D&D random content generator? But hey, once you get a game going, the rest should come naturally. Just take it all one step at a time, and you can especially relax whenever the players start to roleplay and act on their own, because then you can just sit back and relax and let them have their fun, and you don't even have to do dialogue for any NPCs or lore dump on them, or fuck, the rogue tried to steal the paladin's rosary beads. Yes, the dirty whale's underbelly of being a dungeon master is dealing with the barnacle infestation that is being the de facto babysitter of the group, and then you gotta bring out the scraper of social obligation. In some situations more than others, the DM is expected to have a significant amount of say in organizing the playgroup, since you have something of a larger leadership role for the game to exist than the players. You're who the players will look to when arguing over who gets the loot. You will be expected to have a bigger say on when the next session time will be, and you are the one who's expected to kick out the guy who's overriding your descriptions of a pleasant smelling flower garden with the rankness of his workout stank. This means that you cannot take a passive role as a DM. You have control over the fan, and if you see shit flying towards it, you're gonna be expected to turn that fan off before the place really starts to smell like a medieval castle street. With all of that said, I still could not possibly cover the grand mountain climb that is explaining what it takes to be a dungeon master, not to mention what it takes to be a good dungeon master. And I've seduced enough tall folk to make Kanchenjunga horny for me. But I believe the best possible way to show you what it takes to be a dungeon master would be a demonstration of those undergarment moistifying skills I possess. Lucky for your thirsty butts, I've set up a D&D session with a bunch of nerds, and demonstrate I shall. Alright, Unexpectables, you walk into a tavern, a crowd has gathered, and everyone seems to be having a good time, all except a mysterious hooded figure in the center of the room that nobody except you all seem to notice. What do?
I want to smash the barkeeper!
I want to smash the barkeeper.
Nobody wants to have a chat with the hooded figure? Who knows, it may tie into one of your backstories.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. DM, could you look over these notes I have about my backstory? It's only a few pages long, but I wanted to make sure to keep the authenticity of my homeland as the center point of my character development.
What the hell? This is a fucking novel. I'm not reading all of this.
Oh yeah, speaking of, I wanted to check in with you about this new homebrew I created for one of my backstory's characters. I ran it by a couple of friends and they seem to think it's pretty balanced, so no need to worry about looking over it too much.
Oh, no. I know what you're trying to do, you scruffy looking...
Hey, DM, are there any Goliaths in the tavern? No particular reason, I just wanted to know.
Dude, yeah, are there any? I've been looking for a surfing buddy for some time. We're at the beach, right? I wasn't really paying attention. Could you set the scene again?
Whatever. I'll get back to you guys later. Dawnwright, have you made up your minds about that ambush yet? That guy you've been targeting for the past 3 sessions is right there, enjoying his dwarvish drink.
Oh boy, I surely am enjoying my dwarvish drink.
Look, whenever we take a single decision like going to the left or to the right, it goes wrong. We need to have 100% flawless plan.
Oh, maybe we can go talk with him? But if things go wrong, I can use my gun!
When the fuck did the blind dragonborn get a gun? I don't remember giving him a gun. Has he always had a gun?
Just one guy. Why don't I just sneak up on him and poison his drink? I have a +10 to stealth, plus advantage with my cloak of invisibility, and add on another 10 if Franz uses his pass without a trace. No one will ever see me, and we can avoid this whole encounter.
Or I can use this gun!
How many times must you terrify my sweet bottoms, you upright marsupial?
I'll give you 6 minutes and 44 seconds. If you don't come to an agreement on a plan, I'm feeding your minis to the wigglers. Group Stupid, you follow into the tavern as well, and you see the mysteriously hooded figure, now eyeballing you down and casting a menacing visage. They gesture towards 5 open seats and say that you should go—
So who's the most expensive looking dude here?
I don't fucking know. There's a noble in the corner of the room, sure, but he's busy talking with somebody else right now, so maybe you should probably—
I'm already there. I intimidate him to challenge me to an arm wrestling match for all his gold and belongings.
Hey, absurd. You could use Charm Person. I mean, that would cause a charm status, which would give you advantage on any social—
I ask him to give us all of his money.
Absurd.
I rolled an 11.
Well, that's really more of a help action, which actually...
What the fuck? I didn't even ask you to roll yet.
But I did it already. Look, an 11 is good. We are friends now. Everyone likes absurd.
I intimidate him to challenge me to an arm wrestling match for all his gold and belongings.
Fucking fine. You start to arm wrestle him for some of his gold.
Oh, I already stole it all. Also, he might be cursed, because, you know, backstory stuff.
Alright, sure. In the meantime, the hooded figure in the middle of the room that everyone decided to totally ignore transforms into a massive towering titan, and the roof of the tavern is blown off, revealing
Evilus Maximus, the demon lord of darkness.
Vilius Maximus? Now, my Latin's a little bit rusty, but that name seems a little bit on the nose. It sounds to me like he's actually ripping off the Pope's title of Pontifex Maximus, so maybe we should be on our guard for some vile bishops and dastardly cardinals.
No, he's not. Shut up. He looks down upon you all, and with a snap of his fingers, everyone's magical items disappear.
What? This is outrageous. This is unfair. I demands to roll an opposing skill check.
Ooh, this is the classic weaken your opponent before the showdown strategy used by the really egomaniacal bad guys. He wants to demonstrate that we're over-reliant on our magic items as a sort of condescending attack on our self-worth. Watch, next he's gonna say, your puny trinkets won't save you now.
Your puny trinkets won't save you now.
He says, holding all your loot in a glowing orb in his grip.
Ooh, textbook orb strategy.
Stop making comparable analysis. Evilus then casts Hold Person on all patrons of the tavern. Everyone needs to roll
Counterspell, counterspell, counterspell. Hey, did you see this new ad for an over-the-table dictionary? What's it called? Counterspell.
Fucking how many counterspells do you even have?
All of them.
No way, you really don't have that many.
Of course I do.
Bullshit. Let me see your character sheet.
No.
Let me see it.
No.
Let me see it, Davy!
No!
Give it to me, Davy! Let me see it!
As a Beastmaster, Warlock, Fighter, Sorcerer multiclass, I'd like to use my Beast movement to carry me to the enemy, then have them attack the enemy, then use my Familiar's action to use the Help action, then cast Haste on myself, cast Eldritch Blast as a Quicken spell, use Action Surge to put a light on my Beast's nose, and attack with my Hasted action.
Oh, sweet. My Shield Guardian spell procs, because he targeted me with a spell, so that's going to be a Faithful Hound right on Evilus's heels. Now that it's my turn, my sweet, sweet pup is definitely gonna have a munch. And then I'll have the Guardian run up and slap him, and then I'll use my 9th level spell slot to conjure... Wait, hold on. 32 enormous constrictor snakes. You're keeping track of all these initiatives, right? Don't forget that I also have 2 horses, a mastiff, and 6 chickens.
Oh, actually, I still have my movement. Can I dodge as a free action?
The dog's name is Cheese Puff, by the way.
Joel, can I play this?
Well, you two sort that out. I'm going to try to scam as many people as possible out of their coin.
Whoa, hold up there, you oversized crow. You said you were lawful good.
Oh, no. I said I was a half-elven town guard turned hospice nurse and non-lethal hedge knight. But, you know, I can understand the confusion. Besides, I don't believe in alignment anyway. I'm trying to get my scam on. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may you lend me your ears. I have here in my hand one of the finest brews in all...
Okay, so as I stand up in a chair, everyone looks at me. I smile charmingly and everyone starts cheering already. As I pull out a 12-corded ukulele...
Excuse you, who's the DM here?
Oh, you, of course, but in this scenario I will have to roll persuasion or performance, and if I pass a DC check 15, I will charm everyone around me into following my every command. Doing this will allow my character to start its own company, creating profits through the selling of a very specific...
No.
Don't worry, everyone. Just think of all the friends we've helped through our journey and the ties between our hearts that will help us defeat Evilus Maximus. In the name of Saloon, I will punish you. Believe it!
Can I stab her and take all her stuff?
Later.
Hey, DM, not that it actually happened, but hypothetically, if I lost a dice set you let me borrow, would you happen to have another one?
I swear, I have the perfect theme music for this exact situation. Just hold on 1 second, I'll find it.
Music! Good idea. My furball pulls out their ukulele and begins to sing to the villain. Hey, you with the villainous smile, why don't you come and stay and get to know me a while? We're 2 of a kind, 2 sides of the coin. Well, I got no tail, I could give you some.
Alrighty, I think that's enough barding for now. I said that's enough.
I feel as though we haven't really sussed out the emotional stakes here. I mean, who is Evilus to us, you know?
He's the demon lord of darkness. He murders people and is awful and terrible and bad.
Or is he perhaps a metaphor? A construct representing the lasting woe that persisted after the Age of Reason? Or maybe we are all evilists. He's a reflection of our own inner...
Nope, shut up.
You know, we probably can't even take Evilists. According to the strategy guide, he commands 4 Krakens made of, like, pure gold, which are actually lawful neutral, by the way. So they're technically not even evil, and they just serve an evil lord, which is interesting because...
Hey, stop reading the official campaign setting.
How's he funding all this?
I think I have a general idea.
I should have.
The villain that Okay, shut up!
I should make pudding pretzels tonight.
Evilus Maximus has you all completely surrounded and begins to speak.
Foolish mortals, I've lived for 1,000 lifetimes, and once I'm done with you, I'll continue to live 1,000 more. You are merely a blink in my existence. I felled gods and consumed worlds, worlds which yours pales in its own inadequacy. For the darkness I've tamed this.
We've got him now, guys. I cast polymorph in the middle of his speech.
Yeah, turn him into a T-Rex. No, wait, T-Rex
I'm
is
gonna
bad.
grab
Turn him
Greckles.
into something
I'm
small.
gonna dimension
Goldfish, turn him into a goldfish.
Can I persuade him to be our friend instead of evil Maximus?
You can suck on this whale's soul! Shut up! Everyone shut the hell up! No, you can't talk to the barkeeper. They ignore you. I didn't read your backstory. Your homebrew is rejected. There are no Goliaths, and pay the fuck attention next time I describe the goddamn scene. No, I'm not gonna describe it again for you. You all took too long, so your ambush fails and you fall to the floor of the tavern. Also, your target runs away. I never asked for a single one of you to roll, so all your dice go to waste. You don't get that gold, your intimidation fails, and you stop being a dongly-bongly rules lawyer for once. You two, stop comparing my totally original campaign to popular and historical media. I will sick the light gray walkers on you. You don't counterspell, your sheet is revoked, and no, you can't do any of whatever all that shit you were trying to do, you moldy min-max and munchkins. Nobody listens to you, and the guards show up to arrest you for disturbing the peace.
Hey, it's all right, JoCat. There's no need to get so hostile. If you just take a moment to talk to the players, I'm sure we can all...
Nobody cares, Matt Mercer.
Oh, man.
No, and no to all of your plans. And Evilus Maximus doesn't get interrupted by your spell. He conjures a giant mountain on top of the world, rocks fall, everybody dies, and that's the end of the session because nobody wanted to talk to the obviously mysterious hooded figure in the middle of the fucking room!
Mysterious
Man,
figure.
Fine, whatever. Leave. I don't need you. I can find some other players who would be happy to play the game I meticulously planned for them. Go on and cry about it online, you dice-munching goblin breath weirdos. This is what you get for ruining the scene. It's all your fault, you know. You're welcome. Satisfied? What the hell else was I supposed to do? If they don't want to play the game I've set up for them, then they don't deserve to play at all. Maybe, but did you ever think about the game they do want to play? You know, the players are just as much a part of how the session goes as you are. Part of D&D is about how anything can happen. But I planned out this whole thing for them. I even got all the books and everything. It was gonna be a sweeping story with awesome NPCs and an epic conclusion, but they're not doing what I need them to do. That's true, and maybe they never will, but that might be okay. Sure, keep in mind where you want the game to go, but not everything has to be by the books. Everyone is playing their own version of D&D, and as the DM, you have to be able to adapt to that. Saying no to everything you don't want them doing isn't going to give them an amazing experience with infinite possibilities. It's just going to make them feel like the game's better off without them. But what if I do let them do whatever they want, and things go wrong, and it gets boring, or imbalanced, or I forget something important, or the game goes south somehow, and the players don't like the session anyway? Then you go again and do better next time. And this situation right here could be a good start. Yeah, right, and what am I supposed to do, talk to the players? You can certainly try. Guys, wait. I'm sorry. I was worried that if you didn't play the way I wanted you to, that the game wouldn't be as cool or as fun as I thought it could be. I was too constricting on your agency, and shouldn't have stopped you from at least attempting to do the things you wanted. And I should have talked with you and maybe come to some sort of compromise on some of the things I was really stubborn about. Being the Dungeon Master is just really, really scary. There's so much I have to keep track of. Coming up with things on the fly can be really hard, and I want to run the best game I can for everyone. And I'm terrified of messing things up. So sometimes I can get a bit...
Vapid?
Immature.
Anatomically confusing?
Aggressive. But I'm willing to try again, if you are. So how about it? Would you like to play some D&D? So, Krabby, you were saying you wanted to interrupt Evilus Maximus.
Yeah. I wanted to cast Polymorph on him in the middle of his speech.
Alright, what's your spell save DC?
15.
Against all odds, you successfully polymorph Evilus Maximus. He transforms into a meek little sheep and falls to the tavern floor. Seeing this happen, several of the tavern patrons throw up their hoods to reveal they are part of Evilus's cult. Everyone roll for initiative!
Oh, this is fun.